Welcome to Army Controller Training Module. Inspired by Shri Sanjeev Mittal, IDAS, Controller General of Defence Accounts. Lyrics by Shri Sanjeev Kumar, IDAS, Additional Secretary and Financial Advisor, Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India. Presented by Principal Controller of Defence Accounts, Southwestern Command Army, Jaipur. Conception and patronage by Shri Saroj Kumar, IDAS, Principal Controller of Defence Accounts, Southwestern Command Army, Jaipur. Chief Mentor and Reviewer Shri Himanshu Shankar, IDAS, Integrated Financial Advisor, Southwestern Command Army, Jaipur. Directed by Dr. Bhuvnesh Kumar Verma, IDAS, Joint Controller of Defence Accounts. Assistant Directors Shri Abhishek Sharma, IDAS, Shri Sushil Riyad, IDAS, Shri Mohan Lal Meena, IDAS, and Shri DK Oza, IDAS. Defence Accounts Department comes under the Ministry of Defence with the Controller General of Defence Accounts as its head. It is one of the oldest central government departments functioning for more than 270 years. The duties of Defence Accounts Department are broadly audit, payment, accounting and financial advice to armed forces, ordnance factories, border roads, DRDO, Coast Guard, etc. The department is also responsible for making payment of pension to retired armed forces personnel, including defence civilians. The quality policy is: the Defence Accounts Department is committed to render efficient, correct and prompt accounting, payment and financial services leading to customer satisfaction. It is also committed to render efficient audit services to ensure public accountability. The mission statement of our department is: we strive to achieve excellence and professionalism in accounting and financial services and in performing audit functions.
Minimum government, maximum governance is the present government's commitment, and being part of the administration, we are mandated to fulfill this commitment. As Defence Accounts Department, we are expected to provide effective financial advice, internal audit and efficient accounting services to Ministry of Defence and its organizations, including the three services. To achieve this, we require a clear sense of responsibility at all levels, integration of the existing work procedures with a dynamically changing work environment by constantly adapting to new challenges quickly in a professional manner. For this, we have to strengthen our workforce with the required knowledge and expertise through suitably devised training programs. In this direction, I congratulate Shri Saroj Kumar, Principal Controller of Defence Accounts, Southwestern Command, for conceptualizing and creating the training module for the Army Controllers for meeting the departmental training requirements. Such effort is all the more commendable since it has been undertaken during the period of COVID-19 pandemic related national lockdown and its related restrictions on office functioning and travel. I have assessed these modules and it is my opinion that the contents of each video tutorial are adequate for providing in-depth knowledge about the subject as also its practical aspects through examples and case studies. I hope this Army Controller Training module will become a milestone in imparting departmental training online and shall further motivate other controllers to develop similar video tutorials on other topics as envisaged in the DAD Training and Development Policies 2019. Moreover, development of e-learning modules is the need of the hour for training of our officers and staff. Once again, I feel great pleasure in conveying my best wishes to all the officers and staff involved for contributing to the development of these training modules in a comprehensive and effective manner, especially in view of the fact that the entire exercise was carried out by officers and staff members of Principal CDA South Western Command. I hope to see more of such innovative developments in future for enhancing the training functions of our department. I would like to end with these few lines from Shri Amit Arjun Bhardwaj, a motivational expert. कुछ करना है तो डटकर चल, थोड़ा दुनिया से हटकर चल, लीक पर तो सभी चल लेते हैं, कभी इतिहास को पलट कर चल, मिलेगा तेरी मेहनत का फल, किसी और का ना इंतज़ार कर, कुछ करना है तो डटकर चल, थोड़ा दुनिया से हटकर चल। थैंक यू। जय हिंद।
मित्रों, आज देश ही नहीं वरन संपूर्ण विश्व एक भयंकर त्रासदी से गुजर रहा है। ऐसी स्थिति में सभी प्रकार के कार्य बुरी तरह से प्रभावित हुए हैं, फिर चाहे वो सरकारी कार्य हो अथवा गैर सरकारी कार्य। हमारे विभाग का एक महत्वपूर्ण कार्य अपने अधिकारियों व कर्मचारियों के लिए प्रशिक्षण की उचित व्यवस्था करना है, जिससे हम अपने निर्धारित कार्य को सुव्यवस्थित, दक्षता एवं गुणवत्तापूर्ण ढंग से संचालित कर सकें। वर्तमान विश्व त्रासदी को देखते हुए आज सभी जगह सामाजिक दूरी एक अनिवार्यता हो गई है, जिससे कि हम स्वयं को तथा अपने आसपास के लोगों को संक्रमित होने से रोक सकें। इसी को दृष्टिगत रखते हुए यह सोचा गया है कि हम प्रशिक्षण में ई लर्निंग माध्यम को अपनाकर अपने अधिकारियों व कर्मचारियों को ऐसे किसी जोखिम से बचाते हुए दूरस्थ प्रशिक्षण के माध्यम से प्रशिक्षित कर सकें। रक्षा लेखा महानियंत्रक महोदय के मार्गदर्शन में ट्रेनिंग मॉड्यूल इसी सोच का परिणाम है और इसमें हमने उन महत्वपूर्ण विषयों को समाहित किया है जो सामान्यतया कमांड पीसीडीए सीडीए के लिए अति आवश्यक हैं। हमारे अधिकारियों और कर्मचारियों ने पूरा प्रयास किया है कि गुणवत्ता पूरी तरह से बनी रहे तथा वर्तमान नियमों अधिनियमों को भी सम्मिलित करने का प्रयास किया गया है। मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है कि यह मॉड्यूल हमारे लोगों को समुचित प्रशिक्षण प्रदान करने में सार्थक होगा, जिससे वे अपने कार्यों को कुशलता व दक्षतापूर्वक संपादित कर सकेंगे। धन्यवाद।
सर्वश्रेष्ठ हो, सर्वप्रिय हो, कार्य करें सर्वोत्तम, यही हमारा मूल मंत्र हो, यही हमारा लक्ष्य परम। सर्वश्रेष्ठ हो, सर्वप्रिय हो, कार्य करें सर्वोत्तम, निर्मल मन हो सदा हमारा, निर्मल मन हो सदा हमारा, स्वच्छ ही परिवेश हो, नूतन का करके अभिनंदन, वैज्ञानिक दृष्टिकोण हो, वैज्ञानिक दृष्टिकोण हो। सर्वश्रेष्ठ हो, सर्वप्रिय हो, कार्य करें सर्वोत्तम, यही हमारा मूल मंत्र हो, यही हमारा लक्ष्य परम। सर्वश्रेष्ठ हो, सर्वप्रिय हो, कार्य करें सर्वोत्तम, यही हमारा मूल मंत्र हो, यही हमारा लक्ष्य परम।
Hello everyone, I am Ranjan Kumar.
I am Nidhi Sharma.
Today we are going to discuss GFR 2017 and its important features. General Financial Rule, GFR. GFR is a set of rules to be followed by all the central government officers in financial matter. A set of rules are prescribed to be observed by the officer incurring or authorizing expenditure from public money, which is also known as standards of financial propriety. These are enforce financial order and a strict economy, follow prescribed rules and regulations, observe vigilance in respect of expenditure from public money as his own, ensure that the expenditure should not be prima facie more than occasion demand, expenditure from public money should not be incurred for the benefit of a particular person or a section of the peoples. And last one is allowances granted to meet expenditure are not on a whole a source of profit of the recipients. Now question arises, what should observe while making expenditure from public money? Expenditure from public money will be incurred after due sanction by the competent authority. The financial power of government has been delegated to the various subordinate authorities via Delegation of Financial Power Rules 1978. Financial advisor of the concerned department ministries will be consulted in the matter related to expenditure. Sanction to the expenditure will specify where from the funds are made, that is grant, appropriation or reappropriation. Controlling officer in respect of budget allocation will ensure that the expenditure does not exceed budget and expenditure incurred is in the public interest. Now our next topic is budget. What is budget? Budget is a financial statement that coins down the expected revenue and expenditure of a particular fiscal year. Fiscal year is the period from which the financial records are maintained, and in Government of India, fiscal year is a financial year. We all know financial year commences on the first day of April of each year and ends on the 31st day of March of the following year. The budget contains the following: estimate of all revenue expected to be raised during the financial year, estimates of all expenditure in that financial year, estimate of all interest and debt and any repayment on loan in that financial year, and last one is any other information as may be prescribed. What is demand for grant? The estimates for expenditure for which votes on Lok Sabha is required shall be in the form of demand for grant, and each demand normally includes provision on account of revenue expenditure, provision on capital expenditure, grant to the state and union territory government, and loan advances. Now I request Nidhi Sharma to proceed further.
Now, we will see more about this topic, vote on account. Vote on account is to cover expenditure for a brief period, that is, for 1 month or such longer period as may be necessary, in accordance with the provisions of Article 116 of the Constitution. Funds made available under vote on account are not to be utilized for expenditure on a new service. Surrender of savings. The funds provided during a financial year are not utilized before close of that financial year shall stand lapse at the close of that financial year. No saving shall be held in reserve for possible future excesses. Rush of expenditure, particularly in the closing month of the financial year, may be regarded as breach of financial propriety and shall be avoided. Expenditure on new service. No expenditure shall be incurred during a financial year or a new service not contemplated in the annual budget for the year except after obtaining a supplementary grant or appropriation or an advance from the contingency fund during that year. Reappropriation of fund. Reappropriation of funds means transfer of fund from one primary unit to another by the sanction of the competent authority at any time before the close of the financial year to which such grant or appropriation relates. Funds shall not be reappropriated from a unit with the intention of restoring the diverted appropriation to that unit when savings became available under other units later in the year. Supplementary grants. If savings are not available within the grant to which the payment is required to be debited, or if the expenditure is on new service or instrument of service not provided in the budget, necessary supplementary grant or appropriation in accordance with Article 115 Clause 1 of the Constitution shall be obtained before payment is authorized. Charge or voted expenditure. The expenditure covered under Article 112 Clause 3 of the Constitution of India is charged on the Consolidated Fund of India and is not subject to vote by the legislature. And all other expenditure met out of the Consolidated Fund of India is treated as voted expenditure. Charge or voted expenditure shall be shown separately in the accounts as well as in the budget documents. Capital or revenue expenditure. Capital expenditure. Expenditure incurred with the object of acquiring tangible assets of a permanent nature, enhancing the utility of existing asset shall broadly be defined as capital expenditure, whereas charges on maintenance, repair, upkeep, and working expenses incurred for day-to-day running of the organization, including establishment and administrative expenses, shall be classified as revenue expenditure. Appropriation accounts. Appropriation accounts of central ministries shall be prepared by the principal accounts officers of the respective ministries and departments and signed by their respective chief accounting authorities, that is, the secretaries in the concerned ministries or departments. Appropriation accounts pertaining to defense services shall be prepared and signed by the secretaries of Government of India in the Ministry of Defense. Now, Ranjan sir will proceed further with a new topic.
Now our next topic is procurement of goods and services. This is one of the very important topic because rules and regulations related to this topic is directly related to the functioning of our audit and payment sections. For revenue procurement and CBRP, capital booking and revenue procurement of goods and services, and support activities in defense services, provisions and procedures of DPM 2009 along with the GFR is relevant. Every authority delegated with the financial power for procuring goods in public interest shall have the responsibility and the accountability to bring efficiency, economy, and transparency in matters related to public procurement for fair and equitable treatment of suppliers, promotion of competition in public procurement. The procedure must conform the following yardsticks. The specification should work out should meet the basic needs of organization. Specifications should be generic, broad-based, and of minimum inescapable requirement without including superfluous and non-essential feature which may result in unwarranted expenditure. Care also be taken to avoid purchasing quantities in excess of requirement to avoid inventory carrying cost. The procuring authority should satisfy itself that the price of selected offer is reasonable and consistent with the quality required. Government e-market place GEM. We all know during 2017 for wider competition and to bring more transparency in tendering process, concept of National Public Procurement Portal has been introduced known as Government e-market GEM. In brief, GEM is the National Public Procurement Portal and end-to-end online marketplace. This portal is owned and managed by GEM SPV, which is a Section 8 non-profit company registered under the Company Act 2013. GEM SPV operates, monitors, and supervises all the business transactions on the portal through the managed service provider. The procurement of goods and services by the ministries and department will be mandatory for the goods and services available on GEM. The procuring authority should certify that the reasonability of the rates. GEM portal are utilized by the government buyer for direct online purchase as under up to rupees 25,000 through any of the available supplier on GEM, meeting the requisite quality, specification, and delivery period. Above rupees 25,000 and up to rupees 5 lakh through the GEM seller having lowest price among the available seller of at least 3 different manufacturer on GEM, meeting the requisite quality, specification, and delivery period. And above 5 lakh through the supplier having lowest price meeting the requisite quality specification after mandatory obtaining bids using online bidding or reverse auction tools provided on GEM. Note, online bidding or reverse auction tools provided on GEM may also be used by the user even for the procurement is less than rupees 5 lakh. Different type of tendering process. There are different type of tendering process based on the estimated cost and the nature of the proposals. Purchase without quotation. Purchase of goods and services up to rupees 25,000 on each occasion may be made without inviting quotations or bids on the basis of the certificate to be recorded by the CFA in the prescribed format. Through LPC, purchase of goods costing above rupees 25,000 and up to rupees 2.5 lakhs on each occasion may be made on the recommendation of the duly constituted LPC consisting of the 3 members of an appropriate level as decided by the CFA. LPC, Local Purchase Committee, should jointly record a certificate after market survey to ascertain the reasonability of the rates, quality, and specifications. Purchase of goods directly under rate contract. In case a ministry or department directly procure goods through concluded rate contract on Central Purchase Organization, that is DGSND, the price to be paid for such goods shall not exceed those stipulated in the rate contract, and the other salient terms and conditions of the purchase should be in line with those specified in the rate contract. The ministries and departments shall make its own arrangement for inspection and testing of such goods wherever required. Now, Nidhi will share more about the
Purchase of goods by obtaining bids. First, limited tendering inquiry (LTE). Limited tendering. This tendering method may be adopted when estimated value of goods to be procured is up to 25 lakh. The number of suppliers firms in limited tendering inquiry should be more than 3. But LTE may also be adopted even where the estimated value of the procurement is more than 25 lakh in the following circumstances. First, when demand is urgent. Second, when it will not be in public interest to procure the goods through OTE. Third, the nature of item to be procured is such that pre-verification of the competence in the firms and their registration is essential. Open tender inquiry. The OTE should be preferred mode of procurement of common use of items of generic or commercially off-the-shelf COTS items in the market from a wide range of sources. It must be adopted in all such cases in which the estimated value of the tender is more than rate 25 lakh. Advertisement in such cases should be given on Central Public Procurement Portal at www.eprocure.gov.in and on GEM. An organization having its own website should also publish all its advertised tender inquiries on the website. In order to promote wider participation, ease of bidding, no cost of tender document may be charged for the tender documents downloaded by the bidders. Ordinarily, the minimum time to be allowed for submission of bid should be 3 weeks from the date of publication of the tender notice on availability of the bidding document for sale, whichever is later. Single tender inquiry. Procurement from a single source may be resorted to with the prior approval of the CFA in the following circumstances. First, it is in the knowledge of the user department that only a particular firm is the manufacturer of the required goods. Second, in the case of emergency, the required goods are necessarily to be purchased from a particular source. Approval of the competent authority should be obtained in such cases. Third, for standardization of machinery or spare parts of existing sets of equipment on the advice of a competent technical expert and approved by the competent authority. There is a note. Proprietary Article Certificate PAC in the prescribed format is to be provided by the Ministry Department before procuring the goods from a single source. Our next topic is e-publishing and e-procurement. E-publishing and e-procurement is mandatory for all ministry, department of central government, their attached and subordinate offices and autonomous statutory bodies to publish their tender inquiry, RFPs, thereon and details of bids award on the central public procurement portal. But in certain circumstances, there are some relaxation from e-publishing or e-procurement. These are: first, procurement made by the ministry department through DGS and DRC or through any other central procurement organization. In such case, only award detail need to be published. In case of national security and strategic consideration, ministries, department may exempt such cases from e-procurement after seeking approval of concerned secretary and with concurrence of financial advisor. E-publishing and e-procurement would not apply to procurements made in terms of provisions of Rule 154, that is, purchase of goods without quotations, and Rule 155, that is, purchase of goods by procurement committee in terms of GFR 2017. In case of tender floated by Indian mission abroad, CFA to decide the tender may exempt such case from e-procurement. Now Ranjan sir may explain more about procurement process.
Single and two bid system. Single bid system. For stores available commercially off the shelf, that is COTS, and LP items where qualitative requirement and the technical specifications are very clear, single commercial bid system may be followed. This system may also be followed for other procurement of non-complex nature. Two bid system. For purchasing high value plants, machinery equipments, IT and communication system, and for turnkey project, etc., which are of complex and technical nature, two bid system may be followed. Bid should normally be obtained in two parts as under. First one is technical bids consisting of all technical details along with commercials, terms and conditions. Second one, financial bids, also known as the commercial bid, indicating item-wise price for the item mentioned in the technical bid and all others commercials, terms and conditions. Electronic reverse auction. Electronic reverse auctions means an online real-time purchasing technique utilized by procuring entity to select the successful bid, which involves presentation by the bidder of successfully more favorable bids during a scheduled period of time and automatic evaluation of bids. Earnest money deposit. It is for safeguard against a bidder's withdrawing or altering his bid during the bid validity period. Amount of bid security should normally range between 2 to 5% of the estimated value of the goods to be procured, and bid security may be accepted in the form of account pay demand draft, fixed deposit receipt, banker's check, and bank guarantee from any of the commercial banks or payment online is an acceptable form. Validity of bid security. The validity of bid security is normally to remains valid for a period of 45 days beyond the final bid validity period, and bid validity period should be normally 90 days and 120 days for single bid system and two bid system respectively. Exemption from submission of bid security may be allowed to those firms who are registered with the MSMEs as defined in MSE procurement policy issued by the Department of MSME. Also for those registered with Central Purchase Organization or concerned departments or ministries of the Government of India. Startups as recognized by the Department of the Industrial Policy and Promotion DIPP may also exempted from the submission of bids. Forfeiture of bid security. The bid security earnest money will be liable to forfeit if the bidder withdraws or amends, impairs or derogates from the tender in any respects within the validity period of his tender. Next topic is performance security. PBG, performance bank guarantee. PBG is to be obtained from successful bidder awarded the contract to ensure due performance of the contract. Amount of PBG should be 5 to 10% of the value of the contract as specified in the bid documents. And PBG may be furnished in the form of account pay demand draft, fixed deposit receipt from any commercial bank, or online payment is an acceptable form. Validity of PBG. PBG should remain valid for a period of 60 days beyond contractual obligation of the supplier, including warranty obligations. In case the execution of the contract is delayed beyond the contracted period and the purchaser granted extension of delivery period with or without LD means liquidated damage, the supplier must get the BG revalidated if not already valid. Advance payment to supplier. Ordinarily, payment for services rendered or supplies made should be released only after the service has been rendered or supplies made. However, in the following cases, advance payment may be made. Advance payment demanded by the firm holding maintenance contract for servicing of air conditioners, computers, and other costly equipments, etc. Advance payment demanded by the firm against fabrication contract, turnkey contract, etc. Such advance payment should not exceed the following limits: 30% of the contract value to the private firm, 40% of the contract value to the state or central government agency or a public sector undertaking. In the maintenance contract, the amount should not exceed the amount payable for 6 months under the contract. Ministry or department of the central government may relax in consultation with financial advisor concerned the ceiling mentioned above. While making any advance payment as above, adequate safeguard in the form of bank guarantee should be obtained from the firm. Part payment to supplier. Depending on the terms of the delivery incorporated in the contract, part payment to the supplier may be released after it dispatches the goods from its premises in terms of the contract. Now, Nidhi requested to explain an important topic, RFPs, request for proposal.
Request for proposal, also called tender inquiry, it is the most important document in the procurement process. Important features of common RFPs. First, the RFP should contain full and clear specification, scope of requirement, and the evaluation criteria, both for technical bids and commercial bids. Second, the bidding document should contain the procedure as well as date, time, and place for sending the bids, date, time, and place of opening of bids, criteria for evaluation of bids, essential terms and conditions of the contract, reference to brand name in the RFP, reference to the brand name, catalog number, etc. in the RFP should be avoided. Opening of tenders under two-bid system. Under two-bid system, only the technical bid should be opened in the first instance. Commercial bids of only technically qualified firms should be opened only after evaluation of the technical bids and approval of the TEC report by the CFA. Third, bidding document include a clause that if a firm quotes nil charges consideration, the bid shall be treated as unresponsive and will not be considered. Pre-bid conference. In case of turnkey contract of special nature for procurement of sophisticated and costly equipment or wherever felt necessary, a suitable provision is to be kept in the bidding document for one or more round of pre-bid conference for clarifying issues and clearing doubts. This date should be sufficiently ahead of the bid opening date. The record of such conference shall be intimated to all bidders. Negotiation. Negotiation with bidders after bid opening must be severely discouraged. However, in exceptional circumstances where price negotiation against procurement is necessary due to some unavoidable circumstances, the same may be resorted to only with the lowest evaluated responsive bidders. Commercial negotiations are invariably conducted in case of single tender situation, including PAC cases or when price is considered high with reference to assess reasonable price, irrespective of the nature of tendering. Now, Ranjan sir will request to proceed further.
Rejection of bids. We will see under what circumstances bids may be rejected or retendering may be resorted. Rejection of bids may be justified when effective competition is lacking, all bids and proposals are not substantially responsive to the requirement of the procurement documents, the bids prices are much higher than the updated cost estimate or available budget, none of the technical proposals meets the minimum technical qualifying scores. In such situation, retendering of the proposal may be resorted to subject to approval by the CFA. Lack of competition. Lack of competition shall not be determined solely on the basis of number of bidders. Even when only one bid is submitted, the process may be considered valid provided the following conditions are satisfied. The procurement was satisfactorily advertised and sufficient time was given for submission of bids. The qualification criteria were not unduly restrictive and prices are reasonable in comparison to market values. When a limited or open tender results in only one effective offer, it shall be treated as single tender contract. Our next topic is outsourcing of services. There are mainly two types of services: consultancy service and second was is non-consultancy services. Consultancy services means any subject matter of procurement other than goods or works, except those incidental or consequential to the service, and includes professional, intellectual training and advisory services or any other services classified or declared as such by the procuring entity, but does not include direct engagement of a retired government servant. These services typically involve providing expert or strategic advice, that is management consultant, policy consultants, communications consultants, advisory and project related consulting services, which includes feasibility studies, project management, engineering services, finance, accounting and taxation services, training and development, etc. Estimating reasonable expenditure. Ministry or department proposing to engage consultants should estimate reasonable expenditure for the same by ascertaining the prevalent market condition and consulting other organizations engaged in the similar activities. During tendering process of service, shortlisting of the consultants are being done. Consultants may be shortlisted based on the eligibility and the pre-qualification criteria and consultants' past experience in similar work or service. The consultants may also be asked to send their comments on the objectives and the scope of the work or service projected in the inquiry. The number of shortlisted consultants should not be less than 3. Preparation of terms of reference, that is the TOR. The TOR should include precise statement of objectives, outline of the task to be carried out, schedule for completion of task, and support or inputs to be provided by the ministry or department to facilitate the consultancy. The final outputs that will be required of the consultants. After the request for proposal, that is RFP, including TOR and other required terms and conditions for inviting technical as well as financial bids are prepared and subsequently uploaded on e-portal for further bidding process. There are mainly 2 evaluation criteria. Evaluation criteria should clearly be predefined in the RFP. First one is quality and cost-based selection, that is QCBS. QCBS may be used for procurement of consultancy services where quality of consultancy is of a prime concern. In QCBS, initially the quality of technical proposal is scored as per criteria announced in the RFP. Only those responsive proposals that have achieved at the least minimum specified qualifying score in the technical proposal are considered further. After opening and scoring the financial proposal of responsive technically qualified bidder, a final combined score is arrived at by giving predefined relative weightage for the technical proposal and financial proposal. The proposal with the highest weightage combined score, quality and cost shall be selected. And it should be noted that the weightage of the technical parameters, that is the non-financial parameter, in no case should exceed 80%. Second selection method is least cost system, that is the LCS. LCS is appropriate for assignment of a standard or routine nature where well-established methodologies, practices, and standards exist. Unlike QCBS, there is no weightage for technical score in the final evaluation, and the responsive technically qualified proposal with the lowest evaluated cost shall be selected. Non-consultancy services means any subject matter of procurement involve physical measurable outcomes where performance standard can be clearly identified. Outsourcing of conservancy services, hiring of vehicles, outsourcing of building facilities management, outsourcing of security services, etc. comes under the non-consultancy services. Generally, least cost system LCS should be adopted for selection of L1 service provider in non-consultancy services.
This was overview of General Financial Rule JFR 2017, and we hope it will be beneficial for you all.
कार्य बहुत्वे बहुफल माया तिकम कुयति, अर्थात अनेक कार्यों के उपस्थित होने पर पहले उसी कार्य को करना चाहिए जो अत्यधिक फल देने वाला हो।